I've heard lots of people try to argue that SEO is dead or has nothing to do with the distribution of videos. That is everything your channel is built on in the beginning. Channel Studio it's so much better than TubeBuddy for the beginner, just because it's way more accurate and way more realistic. Channel Studio has just been beating out a lot of the local results and for the small channels specifically that are not at maturity yet.
If you're a real estate agent and you're tired of cold calling, door knocking, and spending money on ads, then subscribe to this podcast. We discuss leveraging the power of YouTube for your real estate business and how these strategies earned us over $1 million in GCI our first year in real estate. My name is Levi Lascsak and my partner is Travis Plum. Let's get started. So today we're discussing the tech stack you need for 2025 for your YouTube channel. And of course, I'm joined by Krissy Owens. How are you today?
So good. So good. Right.
So let's get into this. So we're going to try to explain this as best as possible for those of you listening out there, and then we'll follow up with a separate YouTube video. But I want to talk about the tech stack for 2025 and what tools are needed, especially in this AI-driven world where it seems that AI is, well, it doesn't seem that way. I mean, AI is taking over everything, and you have a lot of tools at your disposal now. So I want to start off with searching or searchability or search-based programs. And we've been a big advocate over the past couple of years for TubeBuddy, and that has been our main go-to for searchability or keywords. But the issue is that over the last couple of years, I've noticed that the search results haven't really changed much. And so it always brings into question, like, okay, what are they pulling from actually? And that should fluctuate. I mean, if I'm looking up individual suburbs and areas of Dallas, then that search volume should fluctuate on really a month-to-month basis. And so depending on how they're pulling that information from YouTube, it should always be changing. And so I think that was a really big concern. I just started to question whether or not we're recommending the best tool possible, for our clients, and especially as we coach and consult on these types of things. And I think it's still relevant for keywords, but at the same time, again, what is it basing it off of? And if you see some of the same search results for suburbs, at least in the Dallas, which is what I look at most often, then I start to just wonder, all right, how often is this really being updated, and where do they pull these numbers from in the first place now? So that leads me down the road. Now I'll talk about the first new tool that we are using now, which is Channel Studio. So I believe you can go to app.channelstudio.ai, which will also link that in the show notes. That'll be linked to the video down below. And I think you can start a free trial on that. But we've been playing around with that, and we are getting different search results every single time for different keywords. But it really does a lot more, I think, than even TubeBuddy. Now, I think they've got some room to add a few features on there. But overall, whenever I log in and I start searching and I start looking at key terms, especially suburbs, it's a lot more reasonable. I'll find searches in the 5,000 range, in the 10,000 range, sometimes the 2,000 range. And I've noticed over the past couple of months that we've been playing around with it, that those search results have varied. So to me, I think it's a lot more accurate than what TubeBuddy has to show. And so, sorry guys, TubeBuddy, which we've been, again, big advocates for, it's time to maybe move on from that case. Now, the other thing is that there are still features on TubeBuddy that we're going to be using that Channel Studio does not necessarily. So, I mean, we'll probably be, keeping both for the time being. But overall, searchability is a big deal, especially if you're looking for what's going to drive the content on your videos, especially for 2025, moving into 2026. And regardless of what others may say out there, search is not dead, and that's not, and again, niching down to what people are actually searching for, creating content around that, I think is what leads to business. And, I know that we are one of the highest converting, the highest producing when it comes to volume on channels. There may be some other channels that claim to produce more leads and whatnot, but it really comes down to converting that into real business. And then again, like, what is a lead, And so if they're using lead magnets or driving business to a website, I mean, we could drive a ton of people to our website and they can click all over that place and we can capture their information, but it may not be a fully intentional person that reaches out to us directly. So when I'm looking at search results, and again, this is, in our program, we've actually discussed this many times and still help people do this, which is, I think two main factors whenever you're doing searchability or creating your content initially. I mean, there is broad and there's extremely narrowed down niched content. So if I use Dallas, Texas for an example, I would say Dallas, Texas is more of a broad term. And again, Dallas, Fort Worth includes over 250 suburbs, right? So, if I talk about Dallas all the time, could that get me more views? Yeah, absolutely. Actually, we just released a few Dallas videos on the channel. They're doing extremely well, tens and 20,000s of views. Is that a word? tens and 20,000s. Anyways, 25,000 on one, 30,000 on the other. And again, that's what we expected. And I had gotten away from more broad level content like that over the last 2 years because we've really gone micro niched into neighborhoods and suburbs and new construction communities. But at the same time, I think there is value in that broad appeal, but it's not necessarily leading to more lead flow. What is leading to lead flow is whenever we do specific neighborhoods and suburbs and look at Frisco and Plano and Prosper and Salina. That type of content really drives leads. And I think finding what's searched most within those suburbs as well is really ideal. And you can get really micro niche down on Channel Studio. And that's what I really like about that. Again, there will be a link in the description of the show notes or the video that you can, I believe, get a free trial on Channel Studio, or maybe it's $1 for the first, whatever. I don't know what it is, but so it's worth it though, is what it is. But I can look at individual suburbs. What I like about one of their features is that then they recommend other key related searches to that, which you don't find that on TubeBuddy. So if I were to search Frisco, Texas, or moving to Frisco, Texas, it's going to not only give me search results for that key phrase, it's going to give me about 10 to 20 more even related to that. So I could go through there and actually might find something, maybe relocating to, it'll pop that up and show me search results around that. And then I can look, if I'm thinking about titling my video, which ideally you should be doing that before you create that video, really thinking about the title and how you can create the video to fit your title and thumbnail. Then I'm looking at other key term searches that may drive my decision-making process or ways to think about titling that video different. So I think that's a really key feature on there. But then I'm looking at, okay, this one, maybe moving to Frisco has 4,000 searches, but relocating to Frisco has 2,500. And so again, I'm gonna go, okay, well, maybe moving to is definitely, if that's giving me 1,500 more searches per month, and that's a bigger opportunity. So that could influence my title and how I plan to work that. Now, and that's a really key thing, but I do want to go back to on the dashboard. Yeah, it has a dashboard on Channel Studio, and they have actually added, days prospected on there, which I love. It correlates perfectly with what we preach at Passive Prospecting, which is how much your channel is prospecting for you in a compound effect. So they show views, subscribers, and what I like about subscribers too is they pull the subscribers lost. So that's just something you don't see on YouTube. YouTube, you'll see, I gained 500 subscribers this month, but that's what you see. You see the net gain. Here, if I look at my past 30 days on Channel Studio, it tells me last 30 days we gained 1,024 subscribers, but we lost 234 subscribers. So on YouTube, it's probably going to say 750 subscribers over the last 30 days, which is like cool. but I have no idea that I lost 234 or had 234 unsubscribes from the channel. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting. You know, what am I going to do with that information? Not that much, but it is kind of interesting to see on there. It does show the likes as well. So it's able to pull likes. You know, YouTube now just shows you likes. They do show you percentage. So, I mean, if you get 100 likes on a video and you're at a 96% like ratio, then that tells you got 4 dislikes. So you can kind of reverse engineer that math. But here it just tells you, okay, we've got 1,420 likes over the last 30 days, but 71 dislikes. Okay, so now it's attaching a number to that, which is interesting. All right, well, it's still a good ratio. We still average, I think, a 96, 98% like ratio on our videos, which is really good for the ego, makes you feel better, right? All right, cool. More people like our content. So that's really interesting to see on there. They have estimated hours watched. They have estimated days prospected, which is cool. Ours shows 485 days over the last 30 days. So that's really neat because now I don't have to do that math by calculator, which I've always had to do that before. And then average view duration, average view percentage, shares. It has shares on the, I think that's really important metric that a lot of people don't really talk about or look at that much. Like, how much is your content actually being shared? That is a big indicator for YouTube now as well on promotion of your videos, or, you know, are they choosing to promote it to more people through browse and suggested based on that share capability. Now, here is one I saw on here, an outlier, like we had 151 shares in one day on June 2nd. And I can see on the bar graph, it's a big jump. So I can go back to and look, okay, what video did we publish? You know, what happened that day? Was there a speaking event? Whatever the case may be, I can try to correlate like what happened on that day. Cause we average, looks like 30 to 50 shares per day, which is great. Overall, 30 to 50 shares on our channel, but then in one day it had 151. So again, you can kind of look at some of these metrics and it's interesting, you know, will it affect how you make content going forward? Could be up for question, but, and then I have comments as well. So we have a big spike on like June 11th on comments. Okay, so what happened June 11th? Particular video, particular topic. I could go back on the channel and look at June 11th and try to see. So it easily identifies outliers, which is really cool. So that's on the dashboard on there. They have AI built in. So they have a tag generator, AI tag generator for your videos. And then you can do this ahead of time. You can put in your title, put in the title of the video, and it's going to generate tags for you. They have a title generator. So you can put in your topic, idea, subject. Here it actually says enter video description. So if you have already come up with your video description, you could put that in there and it's going to generate titles for you. I think it gives you like 10, 15 options. So that's interesting. And they do have a script writer. That's something that TubeBuddy does not have in their program either, is a script writer. So I could put the video summary / topic in there. It allows you to pick the tone, appreciative, assertive, awestruck, candid, casual, cautionary, yada, yada, all the way down to worried, urgent, thoughtful, passionate, joyful. So you can pick the tone, writing style, academic, analytical, argumentative, conversational, creative, critical, just to name a few. So you can pick that. That's kind of cool. And then video length in minutes. I think the max on here is 15. So not full capability of AI at this moment, but you know, you could have it write a 15-minute script, and then maybe you could put that into ChatGPT, you could put it into Grok, you could put it into Gemini or whatever your AI of choice is, and extend it if you want it to go past 20 or 25 minutes or whatever the case may be. So that's interesting with the script writer and generator on there. And so it's got some good AI tools in there. They have keyword research. We've kind of talked about that. Actually, let me just put in there moving to Frisco, Texas, and I'll tell you what pops up. and we'll see the results that it gives me. So yeah, it gives me 1,549 monthly searches, and then it shows me other related searches, and you can sort it. So that's you can sort it by the most. So instead of going through there and trying to look at everything individually, I can actually sort by the most monthly searches. And actually it relates living in Dallas. It says 44,000 searches per month for living in Dallas. That's cool. Frisco by itself is 26,000. So that's, again, something else that we've talked about, at least internally, is that maybe we leave off the Texas, so maybe Frisco by itself gets more of a search than Frisco, Texas. And actually, let me see, it doesn't suggest that one, but let's just remove Texas. So Frisco, Texas gave me 1,500 searches per month. Okay, this one says 2,000. So an extra 500 searches or so by removing the Texas. So something interesting to look at. It does score things by overall score, competition, optimization, kind of similar to TubeBuddy on there. And that's on the search results. So that's pretty cool on the keyword research. Short URLs. This is something TubeBuddy does not have. So if you want to put links in your description and you want to track those links, you can actually create shortened links. So if you want to post something in there, an affiliate, a link to something else, another website, or you have a downloadable guide, whatever the case may be, you can actually create they call it linkless, so linkless, and it gives you a linkless, so shortened link. So if you have this big long URL, you can put it in there, and then you can track it on here. So if I put that stuff in my YouTube description, I can actually see how many clicks I'm getting through those. So if you're trying to promote something else, which we've always cautioned around that, because you don't want to distract people away from your channel necessarily, unless it's to give you a call. I mean, you could put your booking link in here. You could, so if you have a survey like we do, a survey to where they can book a call, then you could put that in there and have that as a shortened link. So that would be interesting that you can include. And then team, you can actually add team members in here. You can do split test. So you can do, let's see, title and create split test. You can do thumbnail or title split test, which are really the two main ones that you want to do. You have the video ranker in here. So you can select, it actually pulls all of your last videos, and you can make sure that it's ranking around, basically optimizing that. So similar to what TubeBuddy has. And then projects, it actually has project folders. I think this is something kind of unique to help keep you organized that TubeBuddy does not have as well. So if I wanted to create Plano's Texas pros and cons folder, then you can actually open that project, and then you can search for keywords, write scripts, look for titles, do your tags, all of that inside of that folder. That's pretty cool. Instead of just doing a bunch of random searches all the time, I'm like, okay, I've got a specific idea for a video, and I want to, keep it all in one place. And then that way, it'll make it easier to go back as well, and kind of archiving it. That's something that TubeBuddy does not do. I can't archive searches unless I do, it really only archives A/B testing, right? I can go back and look at previous A/B tests. But if I want to look at my research, maybe I research through a video or 2 or 3, maybe I have a research day and I want to sit down. I'm like, I'm going to research 3 or 4 videos at one time. I knock all of that out. And then the next day is my recording day. And then I can go back into one of the folders in Channel Studio and just go to that specific one and pull up everything that I need from there. If I wrote a script, I can write that out, and then I have my title, I have my keywords, all of that to be able to optimize accordingly inside of there. So Channel Studio .ai, I think, or it's app.channelstudio.ai. And again, we'll put a link in the description and the show notes here so you can check it out. But I think it's really, really useful, especially on those types of things. What it does not have that I do like about TubeBuddy is the bulk changes. So when you have 100, 200, 300 videos on your channel and you want to change a sentence, a phone number, an email, instead of doing that individually on each video, with TubeBuddy, you do have a bulk changer to where I could just put that in there and it'll change it across all the videos, which is a huge convenience. I mean, that's a game changer. So hopefully they'll add that in, because I think that's what would make this more complete. But on the research and the AI tools, the script writing, I definitely think it beats out TubeBuddy on that side of it. So it's something that I would highly recommend adding into your tech stack for 2025. I know, Krissy, you've been playing around with Channel Studio as well quite a bit. Was there anything in there that you like about it?
Well, I would say that generally speaking, it's really good for the beginner YouTube channel. And really, I don't really consider a YouTube channel at maturity until about the second year, just because that's when we see, the six-figure earners coming out of YouTube because of just being able to cultivate that audience and everything. And so for anything that's less than 2 years, I think it's really important for you to really, if you were just going to choose one tool, just choose Channel Studio. And Levi mentioned, we're stacking it with some of the TubeBuddy features and things like that. That's because our channel is a mature channel and we're using more advanced features. We're testing out new things that are coming to market so that we can actually teach you how to do those things. We have the room to take the risks. Channel AI kind of takes the risk out of that initial, launch of your channel, just because those at the very beginning, I know I've heard lots of people try to argue that SEO is dead or has nothing to do with the distribution of videos. That is everything your channel is built on in the beginning. That's the only way you get exposure is through SEO. And it's built off of the same algorithm roughly that Google uses for its search results as well, since Google owns YouTube. So you really do have to focus very SEO heavy at the very beginning. Channel Studio it's so much better than TubeBuddy for the beginner, just because it's way more accurate and way more realistic, like what Levi was saying, on the search results. So it doesn't give you false hope when you put out a video that supposedly has 2 million hits in TubeBuddy, but really in actuality, it's like 50,000 hits. There's a big difference in some of the search volume that we've seen. So yeah, start with Channel Studio, see what it does. And I also hear the argument from people, well, what about vidIQ? And I still use vidIQ for certain things, just because, again, testing stuff. I really don't think that it's very good for local channels. I've seen it work for other things. It's really just not good for local channels. So when you stack those three all next to each other, TubeBuddy's kind of in the middle. Channel Studio has just been beating out a lot of the local results and for the small channels specifically that are not at maturity yet.
Yeah, I do like that, because I know people in the beginning are also mindful about budget. So maybe if you had to really choose one, then I think that's a great point, that Channel Studio is a great spot to start off, because you don't need something like the bulk changer. You can do that individually as you grow the channel. And ideally, following our program, we tell you exactly what you need in there, so you'll get it right from the first time. I mean, for us, we're always changing things, doing things. So we always had to go back but now, I mean, we've pretty much stuck with the same video description, at least 90% of it on all those videos. So we don't have to go back and change a lot of stuff. But yeah, as we learn new stuff or wanted to change things, we had to go back. Oh man, I wish we knew this 100 videos ago. And so you had to change some things. But yeah, so Channel Studio would really probably be the best way to go as a beginner starting out. Now, if you have the budget and you're an existing channel right now, you've been using TubeBuddy, or maybe you feel like you're not getting much anything different out of TubeBuddy, or you've noticed, hey, I've searched this a couple of times and I'm coming up with some of the same results over the last few months. I don't think it's as accurate. Then it might be time to make the switch over. Now, if you need some of those other tools inside of TubeBuddy, maybe you do hang on to both. I mean, I think we've got subscriptions to some other tools as well that we don't use as much, but sometimes it's worth it. Just whenever we do need it, we'll go there. Of course, our budget is a little bit more extensive than others. So, and we like to play around with some of these tools and other different programs and things like that. So, but yeah, if you're starting out looking for which one to get, channelstudio.ai or app.channelstudio.ai is the place to go, I would say. But that's pretty simple on that side of it for searchability and some AI tools on there as well. And I want to switch over to.
Well, actually, before you switch to that, one other thing that you should keep in mind too is for a lot of people who had another channel, or maybe you have another brand, Channel Studio lets you have more than one license per subscription versus TubeBuddy. It has been, and that was something that we kept on hearing from people over and over again, was how complicated it was to transfer a license to another channel. It's so easy in Channel Studio, so easy to do that. Also, it allows you multiple licenses. So if you have multiple brands, multiple channels, you can choose a plan that doesn't break the bank. Versus TubeBuddy, I believe that you still have to buy, individual Legends licenses for every channel that you have, which can be a little bit expensive when you put, multiple channels together. So that's also a big plus. And I think that the support is better at Channel Studio as well. Unfortunately, TubeBuddy, you would send an email and never know when you were going to hear back. Sometimes you would hear back same day, and sometimes it would be 2 weeks until you heard back from somebody. So
actually, that's the biggest complaint we get, is that nobody gets help from TubeBuddy. So I think they were acquired last year or so, maybe the year before that. And ever since they acquired, that's whenever I started noticing these things. Nothing's really seemed to be updated, and you can't get a hold of customer service. And I feel like whoever bought them was just kind of like, okay, we'll just leave it as it is. And maybe it's just a money printing machine for them at this point. Maybe because I know there's a lot of big name creators that still promote it as well. So I know their affiliate program, I'm sure, is doing well. But at the same time, it doesn't seem like they've changed much on there. I mean, they've added in the AI title generator and things like that, I think is helpful, but yeah, Channel Studio does that as well. So, and that's right. Yeah. We have a couple of our channels on there, and I didn't even think about that, but yeah, they're not charging us additional. Maybe they roll down the road
plan for it. So like you can just
TubeBuddy does. Yeah. You have to have a different license for each channel on TubeBuddy. And it separates it on there. So here, Channel Studio, I just have a little drop down box, and I can just change in between channels. So that's pretty cool. But I do want to move over to the next one that we've been playing around with quite a bit, actually utilizing quite often. And that is subscriber.ai. And that's actually subscribr.ai. So that's subscriber without the E at the end. So subscriber.ai, we'll put a link to that in the show notes as well, the description. And that's going to be definitely more pricey. I forgot what we're paying for on that, but that you do have to buy per channel as well, that license. But this one is pretty cool, just for the fact that it takes you through a full ideation and script writing. So it's a lot more robust versus, Channel Studio, or if you were to use ChatGPT or Grok or something like that, you can throw in a couple of prompts or a description. It's going to generate that script, which is can be good, and can work. It's definitely something you can make video around. Now, Subscriber is just like script writing on steroids, or script writing on AI, really. So it takes you through several different prompts, really. I mean, it's making it foolproof as possible. So, but again, you have to have it for different channels, or that's what the license cost is. And I think maybe it's $79 a month, I think, is what the plan we did. Yeah. And we're mainly using it on one channel, ideally right now. But it's interesting because if I want to create a script, you simply create the script. It's going to say video topic. I'm going to put in all the information for my video topic. Format, it's going to ask me, do I want compilation, listicle, a documentary, educational, marketing, news, review, story, video, sales letter, vlog, which is really, really interesting to kind of have those different formats. It gives you a target length. So it will say 800 words, which is more or less a 5-minute video, 1,300 words, more or less an 8-minute video. And it goes all the way up to 60 minutes, which would be 9,600 words. If you're averaging 20-minute videos, that's about 3,200 words. So let's say I want a 20-minute video, boom, I would select that 3,200 words, and that's what it's going to focus its script capability on there. Video title, I can enter a title in there, but it's going to give me options for different ones. Then audience, it actually, you put your channel in there and it does a whole channel avatar for you based on your channel, which I thought was really cool. And it was very, very spot on.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. Language, you can pick your language. Voice, you can, which can be your channel. And then it numbers it, everything. Okay. So then I would move into create script. From there, it's going to take me through different processes. It's going to go into keyword research, and it's going to allow you to actually, you could paste in articles, you can paste in YouTube videos, you could paste in videos from else. I mean, basically you can put in links. Yeah. Links to different articles, YouTube channels or videos or things like that. And it will analyze all of that and incorporate it in there for you. Then it's going to go to a title generator. It's going to prompt you through that, give you a lot of really good options. And then this is what I think is unique about it is then it takes you into a hook generator, which it's going, once you do that, it's going to, I think, give you like 7 or 8 different hooks. And then it's
unending because then you can ask for more. Yeah.
Yeah. Really, really good hooks. And from what I've seen from it, it does a great job on that. And actually with the videos we've been doing. Yeah. So a really good hook on there. And then description generator. So it creates that as well. Tag generator, thumbnail, grabber. That's not really.
I don't like the thumbnail things that they do.
That's not good. And then transcript generator. Basically, it just walks you through the process. It's also going to ask you, like, how do you want to format the script? Yeah. Do you want like problem, solution, outcome? Do you want versus, this versus that? And so, and it takes all that in, and it will structure the video in that way. So it's if you want a listicle and you're like, hey, I'll create me a listicle on these 3 articles and these 3 videos. I mean, it's really pretty cool. It's pretty amazing what it can do on there, but it is on the pricier side. So I would say this is a little bit more for advanced, not what you need in the beginning. So again, if you're looking at budget and trying to keep that down as much as possible, then this is a luxury item, I would say. Yeah. And other than that, it kind of walks you through that process, and then it's going to spit out that script. And here's the piece that I've really been emphasizing with people on AI is, back when I started, we didn't have AI, right? We didn't have AI back in my day, way back in NOM. And so, the funny thing is that I didn't write scripts because I didn't want to write scripts. I didn't want to sit there, do the research, and then try to build a story on paper, write that. That would have taken a full day. Actually, I heard an interview with Graham Stephan, popular finance guru, you could say, on YouTube, and I don't know, 6-7 million subscribers. Anyways, but he just said that it takes him minimum 8 hours to write a script for his channel. Now he's going through the data, the research. I mean, he's giving a lot of information on these topics, but that's what it would take him, a full day. And if he's doing 2 videos a week, that means you've got 2 full days just for scripting. And I think that's, when you're handwriting that stuff, I mean, that's what it takes to really, build out a well thought out argument, or, I could just say argument. Argument could be good or bad. Basically your argument on the subject you're talking about, or your thesis, I guess you could call it, basically, right? Remember when you just could not wait to write your college paper? I mean, said no one ever, except maybe Krissy. Krissy was probably like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to write 35 pages, So me, I was like, holy crap, 35 pages. Oh my God. And you had to structure that, do the research, piece it all together. And that was extremely time consuming. I didn't want to do that in the beginning. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to get my bullet points. I'm going to do my research, get my bullet points, and I'm flying off the cuff. Right. And now you can easily generate scripts, but then that leads into 2 other things. so going back, let me rewind real quick. So yes, people look at what I do on video and they're like, oh my gosh, you're so natural. I'm like, okay, yeah, look at my first videos. They're a little choppy, but also sometimes I talked way too much or too long or just over talked a subject. But that was it. It was me just freestyling. So I didn't have a real structure other than my bullet points. I didn't have a start or a stopping point to what I said. And I'd have to be knowledgeable on that subject, either through personal experience or from what I've read online through my research. So either way, you can't really go around the work is what it comes down to. But now with AI, yeah, can I go into AI and say, give me the pros and cons of living in Plano, Texas? Yeah, sure, I can do that. Actually, if I just Google living in Plano, Texas pros and cons, it's going to give me an AI overview at the top of my search results. And everything I've seen recently, I could absolutely use the pros and cons that it gives me on the AI overview. Now, it typically only gives one sentence related to each pro and each con. So in order to make an extended video, you're going to have to talk extensively, at least 2 to 3 minutes on each subject. But still, it's like, that's how easy research is now. Literally AI can just give it to me. But here's the downside to that is you still need to, either it's not complete. Now I could easily copy and paste that AI overview and I could turn around and throw that into Gemini or Grok or ChatGPT and say, please give me a 15-minute script, based on these pros and cons. And it'll expand on all of that for me. Okay, great. Now I've got a script that I didn't really research. I didn't really read much of it. So now I have to perform that on camera. Well, what are your options? Your options are to read regardless. You're going to have to read through that whole script. Number one, you need to look for, discrepancies. There's still things, and I've caught this on many times, that
the ethereal mountains.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing. The majestic skies and let's delve into the top pros and cons of, so yeah, I highly recommend you get rid of all those stupid words.
Fluffy words.
Yeah, especially if you don't say them. But on top of that, you could find, I found data, that's maybe it's only 6 months old, but it's irrelevant right now. So, for one instance, it was talking about a Costco will be opening in May of 2025. And I'm like, well, we're in June already. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so I can't, if I just read that script and there will be a Costco opening and, and there people are going to be like, wait, what? So you want to make sure that you catch things like that. And so you're still going to have to read through the script and do some editing. Now that you have a script, do you know the information? I don't know. So then, okay, do I use a teleprompter? Well, guess what? Teleprompting is a skill in itself. So for those of you that are like, well, I'm not comfortable on camera, I'd rather use a teleprompter. Well, it's not like you just pop it in a teleprompter and you're the ABC midnight news caster superstar,
turn into Anchorman.
Yeah.
On the teleprompter.
You're just not instantly ow now brown cow. The teleprompting is a skill. So you can pop it into a teleprompter, but guess what? Your first 5-10 videos on a teleprompter are not going to be that great. And you're probably going to, mess up several times. And actually we talked about this yesterday on our coaching call, which is, someone said, how long is your video actually when you record it versus edited? I was like, well, if I did it freestyle, a 25-minute video might actually take me 30 minutes, because I said I'm probably going to screw up the beginning, because I always have an idea of what I want to say or start out, and then I get tongue-tied, especially if it's first video of the day or, I'm not recording multiple videos every day, but even though I might be having conversations that morning or talking to people, something about when I turn on the camera, I've got to get tongue-tied very soon in that process.
You're switching from the logical to the creative side of the brain too. Yeah. So it's just an adjustment.
Yeah. So I'll be like, blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's gonna eat up a minute or two right there. So, but still once I get in the flow state, I'm pretty much going to flow through that video. So even though It took me, my recorder says 30 minutes or 35 minutes. It's probably going to be edited down to 25 minutes. And okay, so that's simple. That's not, it's not 2 hours, to do a 20-minute video.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with a teleprompter. And I've used teleprompters. We use them in ads and things like that. Whenever my copywriter says, hey, I want you to say this specific script, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not going to memorize it. So now a lot of times I'll look at it and say, you know what, I can freestyle this. But, at the same time, if we want to run very specific ads with copy, I'll use a teleprompter for that. And guess what? It's a skill. And guess what? I get tongue tied. And guess what? I screw it up. And guess what? I have to start over. And guess what? I have to go back. And, so it's no different. It's not necessarily a shortcut. Now, maybe once you get proficient, but then again, I've always said that about video in general. Even if you're bullet pointing and freestyling, it just gets easier. You get more proficient, you get better, you get more comfortable, and you're able to just flow through that a lot more easily. But now with AI, AI just doesn't solve your problems and say, okay, cool. Yes. Can I pump out a script in about 2 minutes? Absolutely. So can it save me a ton of time on research? Absolutely. But, again, if I just turn around and regurgitate that information, I don't think you really retain as much. And so you still want to go through there, read the script, read the information, maybe look at a couple of the articles it references or something like that. And so you have to build up that skill as well. So even though you have something like subscriber.ai here and you're using that, okay, what do you do with that? And then you got to go through and be like, well, does this script sound like me as well? So again, if it starts to structure sentences or use fancy words or, say, all right, man, let's move on to the next topic, and that's not you. And then you're on video going, okay, man, let's move on to the, and it makes you say things that's where the awkwardness sets in. Plus your eye movement, like, can you read a teleprompter without moving your head, and following the words or the bouncy ball? So again, all of that is a skill that just develops over time. Now, once you get proficient with that, can you be a lot more efficient? Yeah, probably so. So, but still, I think there's something to reading through that script, learning it as well, and then performing it on camera, you could say. Because you do want to be knowledgeable. And then also, if somebody asks you, hey, I saw your video the other day, and they ask you a question, you're like, oh, well, I don't even really remember because I just read through a script and that was it, and I was done after that. So, during the research process, that's always helped me remember things, embedded them, and then to turn around and to write my notes out and then to say that, it's helped me learn a lot about Dallas and the Dallas market. And it's funny now because I know so much about Dallas, a lot more, I would say, than the average agent. It's funny. Sometimes I'll talk to agents here locally and mention something. They're like, what's that? Oh, what's that development? What's that community? And they don't even know, so it is difficult to keep up with everything, especially in Dallas where so much is changing. So again, it's useful. This is helpful, and can definitely speed up time. It helps us quite a bit, but we're in a different flow state. We're efficient and proficient in a lot other different categories now. So it's easy to incorporate these types of things. And I've tested a few videos now using scripting and teleprompting, just to see, and they've done well. And now it makes me go, okay, does that mean my freestyle stuff is no longer any good? But no, it just, if I freestyle something and it's a lot more niched, I can expect less views on that. That's fine. But if I'm ranking number one for, moving to Plano, Texas, I'll take that all day long. That's what's going to get the phone calls, because I know somebody who's actually searches moving to Plano, Texas is pretty serious, or very intentional. They're not just doing that for fun. But if I say, yeah, here's the top 10 suburbs of Dallas, Texas, is that somebody moving? Yeah, absolutely could be. But there's so many other people that could have an appeal to what that is. And so, again, broad-based topics for your channel, like your major city. Yes. Definitely ideal to bring in a broad audience. Could get you some good subscribers, significant views. Does that turn over the business? Possibly, but I think you're more likely to turn over business with micro niche content, cities or suburbs, neighborhoods, communities. Not as many views, hurts the ego a little bit maybe, but who cares if we're cashing checks, right?
Yeah.
So what do you like about Subscriber?
Well, and I think that it is kind of nice because, you know, you are such a freestyler. And so I think sometimes it's good for you, like when you're sitting at the computer, it does give you kind of some structure, especially for our shorter videos. I feel like it's really, really good with shorter videos. I can see where the complication would come in with something like a 25 minute video, because really what makes our 20 to 25 minute videos so valuable is kind of your raw knowledge on Dallas. And so that freestyle is very valuable to just the overall branding, just your personality and people learning your personality. So I guess you really have to go into Subscribers strategized. And look, I mean, AI is only as good as the user. I mean, I think we can all say that. I put in a prompt today for a logo, and I can't even tell you, Levi and I were laughing about it before he even got on here because it was so bad. And, you know, and that was because I did a poor prompt, and I did it in like 5 minutes. But, you know, unless you actually go into AI with a very strategic thought in mind before you go into it, you're going to get crappy results. So I think when you go into using Subscriber, there are some nice things, like, for instance, in the summary section, when you actually get your script all done, it also has the option for bullet points. So if you're more of a freestyler, you can actually go off of the bullet points rather than the exact script. And then you have some structure to your video. Because I do think there's value in having structure, especially in the longer videos. Otherwise, we run the risk of having a long-winded video that doesn't actually add value, right? And so if you're at the very beginning of your channel, that's probably where I would start. Another reason I would probably start with the bullets versus the actual script is because of what Levi was saying. You can come across very stiff and inauthentic when you're trying to read a teleprompter, and you're going to pull an anchorman and say everything on there, whether or not it makes sense or not, you know? So I think that that's a good way to go about it. And we talk a lot about our sticky note method. Actually, Travis was the one who first started doing that, where we had the bullet points and actually read those off of the camera. You can actually print out your whole bullet point, you know, section and just tape it onto the back of your camera if you wanted to, and use the bullet points to kind of drive you through there. But Subscriber does have a really good hook and payout system, which is something we talk about all the time. It's what hinges the entire value and the entire performance of the video. So if you're going to script nothing else, script your hook and script your payout, and then use the little bullet points in between to kind of fill your video. And I think that that's a great way for a beginner to use Subscriber. The advanced user is going to be better at using the teleprompter. It actually has a built-in teleprompter. I've never used it, so I don't know how good it is, but there is a built-in teleprompter on Subscriber as well. So when you get more advanced, maybe you can do some total scripting, just making sure that it's still authentic and not super stiff. But as a beginner, use that hook, use those payouts to kind of structure the video, and then use the bullet points to kind of drive your video.
Well, the problem with the teleprompter, or I mean the Subscriber teleprompter, is that you'll be reading the screen instead of looking to the camera.
Yeah, true.
So it kind of defeats the purpose. But I do like what you said about scripting for shorter videos. I mean, that's what's been working really well on our sellers channel, where the goal has been, 5-minute videos, something very simple, short, sweet, to the point. And with scripting around that and using a teleprompter, it can keep you right on schedule as to where, if I like to be natural, guess what? I can get long-winded. I get excited. One thing makes me think of another thing. And then I want to talk about that and so yes. And people are really looking for a lot more information, I think, especially whenever they're moving from out of state. So you have relocation versus local business, and the things that we're talking about on that sellers channel for local business is something that they want to get that information, I think, get on, get out, move on. It's also highly, highly shareable when it's a 5-minute video or less, as to where if I make a 45-minute video, if somebody sent me a 45-minute video, I'm gonna be like, okay, well, they're probably not gonna watch that ever,
Well, there are two different purposes too. I mean, you think about our shorter videos. Our shorter videos are there for really more for Dallas residents who don't really need to build the trust. They need to have an understanding of what's happening in Dallas, versus our relocation clients who are coming from out of state, they're scared about having to move and not knowing anybody there. So really you're selling yourself. And so you need 45 minutes, 20 to 45 minutes just to sell yourself and build a relationship. It's a relationship builder versus an information, situation. So I feel like with the 5-minute videos, the scripting makes sense because we're trying to be very efficient with the information that we're putting out and making sure that it's hyper effective versus trying to be relational, which is what our Living in Dallas videos do.
Yeah. So other than that, yeah, I mean, we could throw out ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini. We kind of play around with a little bit of each of them and find different things. Sometimes I'll take the subscriber script and throw that into Grok or something and say, hey, give me provide me a compelling hook that includes a curiosity gap that's answered later on in this video. And sometimes I find I like those hooks better than what subscriber might give me, although subscriber is pretty good. But overall, I mean, those are really the two main, tech stacks, I think, or tech, softwares that we're using right now in our business. And again, we'll put those links in the show notes and in the description below. So app.channelstudio.ai and subscriber.ai are really, really ideal. Channel Studio is necessary in the beginning, regardless. Yeah. As a new channel, I think you have to have that really to get established. So that's a must-have. Subscriber, more of a luxury item, more of a, hey, you can wait on that type of thing down the road. And then, of course, you have the AI platforms or the Chat GPTs and the Groks and the Geminis at your disposal, so you can use those as well. So all good things. And you could still use TubeBuddy on top of that. We still do, like I said, even like Krissy uses vidIQ. So, and we have a couple of others. Adobe, you have Canva now as well. All of it incorporates AI in there. So, if you need design, I don't think they're not the best. They haven't come up with a good AI, for thumbnails or anything like that. But I will say ChatGPT, if you're going to put apples to apples, Grok is just miserable with images. I've never really gotten a really good image out of Grok. Really, really good on scripting, really, really good on deep research, being able to use social platforms to be able to do some of that research. Grok is definitely going to be a winner there, clearly. ChatGPT has gotten a lot better with their image stuff. So I would say if you're trying to play around with some like background images for your thumbnails, ChatGPT would be a good place to go there. They still struggle with fingers. So just if you're going to have yourself AI generated, do not include your fingers. But it's a lot better than it used to be. So in terms of imagery and stuff, I'd use ChatGPT for that. Yeah. All right, great. And so that's kind of it. We'll keep it to that right now. I think those are some good tools you can utilize in your business. And then also you check out some of our recent interviews that we've done, not only with mortgage professionals, but people who live in Thailand and people in smaller markets. I mean, really good insights that they have. So make sure you check out those videos. See you later.